Excellent. So this is MS Office Hours. We have started the recording. If you don't wish to be recorded, please hang up now or, at least remain silent. It is August the 1st, 2019, and today we are going to talk about Power Apps and specifically Power Apps and some of the cool ways we can tie that into Teams and some neat things that we can do for education specifically, I guess, but these apply anywhere, really. I think the first one that I'm going to show you guys, and what's cool about what I'm going to show you today is all of this is no code. It's out of the box, push a few buttons, and it just happens. I'm not trying to get creative or show you how to do amazing things. I'm going to show you how you could be creative afterwards with this, but just with a few clicks of a mouse today, you're going to be able to do some really neat things. So the first thing that I want to show you guys is the ability to come into, say, Teams. Let's see here. We'll go into Teams and make sure I'm in the right persona here. I have so many of them. And I can come in here, and while setting in a meeting, I can actually start capturing notes right about this meeting in one place. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing. I'm inside of Teams, actually in a web browser. I could access this from my phone or anywhere else, but be able to come in and select a particular meeting. In this case, we'll just grab the staff meeting that's here, right? And I'll start this meeting. And what it's doing is I now have a place, a single canvas where I can see everybody who's been invited to this meeting. And let's say that Megan did not show up to the meeting. Are you joining us? I can just click a single button, send her an email, and now she's got a new email. I could schedule a follow-up with her if she missed it, whatever I needed to do, all without leaving Teams right here. I can email everybody with a single click of a button as well if I chose, right? I have all of the meeting details here, including the link to join the Teams meeting if that's what I choose to do. In many cases, this makes what makes this make a ton of sense is that even when I'm on-prem and it's not a Teams meeting, this all works the same. Now, what I have here in the middle is a neat place to take some notes. These are my meeting notes. And I can put in anything that I wish here, right? List, whatever else. It's just a really simple set of notes. When we're all done with this, those notes are going to land themselves right inside of OneNote for me, though, automatically. Additionally, when we're in meetings, you guys ever run into the thing where you really need to have some tasks, right? So you need to be able to sign things out. This is a great place to be able to do that. So I can come in and say, please send out previous meeting notes. There we go. And I click the plus sign. It says, oh, great. Who's that assigned to? You know what? I'm going to assign those to Megan, too. We're going to just add a few things to her task list today. And so we want to add that right to planner, that type of stuff. Somebody's not off mute.
I didn't come up with that one.
If you didn't come up with that one, you should mute yourself. Hey, Kelvin, I'm sorry, Kelvin Hawker, can you mute yourself? All right, I got it, Kelvin. There we go. I love Teams has added a few new features, by the way, if you didn't know. And I'll show you guys that in a little bit too, where you can just real easily mute people from down at the bottom. Anyway, while you're in here, you can add all this stuff directly into this, including the fact that do you guys whiteboard a lot? If any of you have seen me in person, you know that I travel with a Surface device, and on my Surface device, there is a little sticker on the back that says, I think in ink, because I also travel with my own set of dry erase markers, because in fact, I pretty much have to draw in order to think. So I can draw anything I want, and even be able to change ink colors and do all of that. Right here, draw pictures, whatever it is that I need to do. I just click Save Sketch. I can add additional sketches if I want to as well, and save those directly into here. I can even go so far as to utilize a camera. There we go, save that wonderful image. Now that's all part of my meeting notes. If you look right up here, I actually have this little thing that shows me where all my attachments are, which I can see the picture we just took as well as the sketches that we just did attached to that so far. So I've got where I can type in all of my notes, right? I can copy and paste in URLs, whatever it is that I want to do. just start putting information in here. However I do that, you'll notice it's got a countdown. Since this meeting hasn't actually started, if you notice, it starts at 5 p.m. It's showing me a countdown until the meeting officially starts, as well as that detail is here. But when I am done taking notes for this meeting, I simply click Finish and Save. And this is kind of cool. It comes here and says, hey, you know what? Would you like us to email all these notes out? I say, sure. I'd also like them emailed to myself. So I'll add myself to that list there. In fact, I want to store them in OneNote. So I'll just choose a location here. Oh, of course, I get an error every once in a while. Something has to go wrong in a demo, even when I've tested. That's okay. I'll show that to you guys. It was working fine for me earlier, so I'll show you how that works here in just a bit. Same thing. We'll see if Planner works for me now or not. So inside of Planner, I can take that task that I completed earlier and just assign it to a plan and to a particular bucket. In OneNote, I would assign it to a notebook as well as a particular section, and it would automatically attach all that. So I'll hit export, and then I'll show you guys exactly what happens. And I'm going to show you how to set this up yourself, by the way. Don't think this is just a demo. So I'll say, yes, I'm finished. And in fact, we need to book another meeting with the same group of folks. So I can immediately click schedule a follow-up meeting right after this. It automatically has all my same people inside of here. I can add additional details as I need. And it'll find available times for me. And I'm going to tell it between 9:30 and 3 o'clock on the 13th. You can see all this is just popping up, moving super smooth for me. I'll make it a 1-hour meeting. It'll find available times for me. So you can see this is actually integrating directly through Outlook and Exchange, right, to be able to find the available times. I'll say, hey, 1 to 2 p.m. looks great. We'll send out the invite. And Bob's your uncle. It's already out in people's inbox and setting on their calendar. How do I know that? Because if I come here to the 13th of the month, you can see it right here, follow-up staff meeting. There you go. Perfect. Just kind of showing you guys that. And then you can see some of the things that happen here. Here's what the email looks like that got sent out. I'll blow that up so you can see it a little bit better. So you can see it has my 3 attachments that we took while we were there, as well as all the meeting details, the agenda, anything else was typed up, as well as my notes and tasks. And that was emailed out to everyone. I could also very easily say, hey, I actually want this in the Teams environment. And so it would be easy for me to do this get email address. Oops. Wait for it to actually generate. Take that email address, copy it, and now I can just come back over here and forward this to there. Because I send stuff to Teams, I understand it's best to kind of delete some of the header stuff, and I just hit send. And so now we know what'll happen, which is over here in Teams momentarily, we're going to see under the conversations a whole new section that's going to show up with that in just a minute. While we wait for that to come in, oh, there it is right there. So now we have all of those notes right here inside of Teams as well. And you can access even the attachments if you wish, just to show that that works fine. Now, it would be just as easy to add this Teams channel and emailing this directly from within the PowerApps. So you could do that yourself, and we'll talk more about that. You'll also notice, by the way, that there is a distribute previous meeting notes right here assigned to Megan. This is the task that we created while we were in that meeting. And then we also have the staff notebook here, which is where, had I not had that whatever little error occurred for me, which again, weird because it was working fine for me earlier. I must have broke something when I was playing around. But we'll notice here as soon as the staff notebook loads that you'll see I've done this in a couple of tests, and you can see this same set of stuff showing up here. The only thing I noticed is that the attachments don't seem to show up in OneNote, only the rest of these details. So kind of cool, but you can see it makes it easy for me to distribute these and share them in whatever fashion I like, whether it's email, the conversation window, or OneNote, or a combination of all of them. I wouldn't have had to check all of those. The neat thing here is we'll actually switch over to Megan for just a minute, and you'll notice inside of Megan's email, Megan not only got the staff meeting invitation or notes that were here, she also got the open in Planner because she got a notification from Planner that a task has been assigned to her. So she simply clicks on that, and it takes her right into that particular task, and she can immediately start putting details into it or mark it as completed, whatever it is that she needs to do. So all that just happened right straight away for her, very easy for her to get to. If she had been working in Teams rather than in her email, she could have also seen that through the team itself and been able to just have Planner as a tab there, for instance, or looked at her stuff and worked through it that way. And here is the updated meeting we talked about before. So kind of neat how it all just happened, right? The point there was to show you guys that this was all super simple. It was built right into, I had it all integrated right into Teams. I could have just as easily gone into PowerApps. Sorry, I'm in the wrong persona here. Let me switch back over. I could have just as easily gone into PowerApps here and just launched that straight away. Here, I don't have to be inside of Teams, which means that I can pin this to my desktop, to whatever. This is just an app that runs natively inside of here. You'll note when I do run it, it automatically detects this is the current meeting and lets me just start that meeting, or I can change and pick any of the others that are here. Now, the one that we did before is already gone. In this case, this is actually in my Microsoft production environment. So this is showing actual meetings that that I was working with. So I created another version of this that runs, because I actually, after playing with this, decided I'm going to use it. I thought it was pretty cool. Nice way to take notes in a call super quick and have it just show up in my OneNote. So I thought I might play with it for a bit. But over here is what I was trying to show you. I could do it inside of here. So let's go take a look at what's behind the scenes here and how I created this. So this is what it looks like behind the scenes. But the way I got here was when you go to PowerApps, which, by the way, should show up if you're licensed for it very easily for you. It may not be right here, but when you go to your waffle menu and click on All Apps, and you scroll down alphabetically, you'll find PowerApps. Once you click on that, it will load to this screen, which is your home screen, and you can say create blank from canvas, whatever you want to do there. But we can also just go here to All Templates over on the right, bottom right. And we go to All Templates. There are lots of things that we can start from. One of which you'll see over here in the second row, first column, is the meeting capture. And so all I do is click on that. When we click on meeting capture, it tells us it's going to connect to a bunch of services. This should make sense based on what you saw: Office 365, including Outlook, OneNote, and Planner. So I'll say create. Now, you only have to do this once, obviously. So like any good cooking show, in a minute, I'm going to flip over to the one that I already have that's done and ready, the one that we were just playing with. I am intentionally doing this in reverse order, I know. So what happens here is you have to come in and attach your account to each one of these. So note it is running under your personal profile, which means when you hit send to send out those notes, it does send as though it came from you personally, because in fact, it come from your account. So I simply click allow, and now it's going to go out and create all those little connections for me, set everything up. Ultimately, what I'm going to end up with is this right here. Over on the left-hand side, we can see all of the various screens that we were able to interact with while we were inside the application. Each one, in fact, should be relatively familiar to us. And then all that it's doing is pulling in the data as it loads it directly. Now, I would go into great detail and show you all this in the 15 minutes we have left, but I'm not near as good at it as the people who actually created all the professional documentation and videos for it. So instead, what I'm going to do is show you that there is an article that you can go search on later that talks about setting up and learning how to capture all of this. And I'm going to put that URL into the IM window for you all right now. Here you go. That will take you to the documentation. And then this is linked from the documentation, a video that goes into great detail about how to use the application and what's happening behind the scenes, which also will give you some insight into how you could customize that application to maybe, rather than emailing everybody, just simply add into a Teams channel of your selection, something like that. So definitely some cool things that you can do there. Just in case you happen to lose those links, you can go and find those from this page over here where we started from. But you go and search for that. All that stuff is out there. There's tons of good stuff in that documentation on exactly how all of this works. The main thing to understand is that this works just like Access, as people were asking about Access earlier. Very, very similar to it. For instance, when I come here to this home screen, you'll see that each of these different sections here, or cards or screens, all then have individual elements within them, and I can see each of these elements. And over on the right, I see all the different controls for each of the elements and sub-elements. So inside this gallery, I can see each of the components within that gallery and be able to go and control all of their properties in detail. If you prefer, you can actually use the function field up here and be able to select these one by one. You'll notice that is the exact same content typically that you're going to find over here under advanced. Just depends on where you're more comfortable working. Some of this stuff's in different places, but kind of neat to work with. I'll let you guys go dive further into that. I want to show you another example of something you could do. We've got about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to show you a really cool way that you could create an app today. So this one you could do in 10 minutes or less. It was literally, you saw me click the button and then just accept it, and it works. And so that one is awesome. This next one is, what if I have something custom I want to create? So here's what it comes down to. Most of the time when we want to create a custom application, our thought process goes to, oh, I don't want to create a database. I don't want to maintain a database. I'm not a DBA. Does anybody else feel that way? That's how I feel a lot of times, right? Like I want to create something to solve a problem to get through this really quickly. And in many cases, if you think about it, these tools aren't actually made for IT pros. They're really made for the average power user, right? This is somebody who is willing to step up and just solve a problem. In fact, when you see all the amazing stories that Microsoft talks about online, you watch all the videos and the white papers and things that come out about people who use Flow and use PowerApps and Power BI. They're always average users, not IT pros. So you can understand that many times we're trying to think about, what about that person who doesn't even have access to spin up a Azure SQL instance, right? That type of stuff. So what if I just had a stupid, simple Excel database? So let's switch over from an admin here to just one of our teachers. So here, I have a teacher who is in our science department. She has a very simple Excel spreadsheet. We've got a single table in here where we just literally just typed in these titles earlier today, put in some basic content. You then select the whole thing, right? You tell it to format as a table. You go give the table a name. Now, this is the one key. When you format as a table, it names it table 1 by default, which really doesn't actually name it that. It sort of refers to it that way. So you'll find that what you really need to do to make this work, and this is a trick that you have to know, is you need to open this thing in the Excel app. Why the web app can't do this, I don't know. Hopefully somebody figures out that this is kind of a necessary thing if you're going to work with tables, to be able to name them. But I could not figure out how to name a table inside of the web app for Excel. So when I come up here to data, nope, it's not under data, sorry, under table design. Now, once I have this table selected, should show up right here. Table name. I've named it session list. You must give it some name other than the default table 1. You need it to save there. If you don't, then you'll get an error saying that it couldn't find a list when we come to this next part, okay? So you do need to give it a name. Again, once I have a table and I've selected that table, as soon as I put my cursor anywhere in that table, this context menu shows up called table design, and then I can find the table name listed there. So showing you that as a quick little step into it. And then what we want to do is go into our PowerApps. Now that we have that document created, it's in just setting in our OneDrive. Just before we go to PowerApps, I did come here and do a share. And what I did with this share is I typed in everyone. Actually, I started typing in all, and it gave me, I don't remember, eventually, oh, I know what I did. You come over here. Sorry, sometimes I have that brain that's trying to do too many things. Go to manage access. And from here, you can see that I actually clicked this grant access button up here at the top, and I typed in everyone and shared this to everyone except external users. So it's in my OneDrive, but share it to everyone in my org, because this is a particular application I want to make available to everyone. I could have kept that limited as well, depending on what you're trying to do. So the first thing is make sure everybody can read and write to this spreadsheet, since that's what I really want them to be able to do. And then I go into PowerApps, and I do that right over here, just like I showed you before. Simply launch PowerApps. And now what I can do is say create, but right here is a start from data. That's what I want to do, is click start from data. And from here, it's going to let me choose a number of different data sources. In my case, I want to choose OneDrive for Business. Now, phone layout is the only choice I had there. I might have been able to click the right button and find more, but for this case, it's actually what I'm after. So I'll click, so it shows me my most recent, right? Because I have OneDrive selected. I only have one recent document, so it shows up there for me. You might see more. I can select that one, and then it immediately finds that table that we just looked at called session list. So I simply select it and connect up to it. Now it's going to automatically create that 3-screen app that we've seen so many times when you go in to mess with this. So it's going to be a gallery list view of all of the various records that you have in your Excel spreadsheet, or in this case, in that particular table. And then once we have that, it's going to actually allow us to view the details on it or go in and actually edit it. So I'll hit run and you'll see what it looks like here. So I can see the list. In my case, I only had one record. Although that information is not very helpful, right? The title's not actually there. When I come in here, I get details, but the details are kind of in an awkward order. I go to edit it, I get that same sort of awkward order, and this isn't really the right size for editing a multi-line agenda. Some weird little things like that, right? But the application was fully functional. It worked fine. I just want to clean it up. So in my case, I'm actually going to ditch that one and come over here to the one that I have. And you can see here what I've done is take this exact same one. And all that I did was come over here to the properties on this card. So not selecting each individual piece necessarily, but I can select the card itself or what's called the gallery. See this over here, right? I'm not grabbing individual pieces and parts, but instead the gallery. And then here's this layout thing. Right above it, it says edit. And so from here, I can then come in and choose which thing I want to be title 1, which is that top piece. I say that should tie to the data piece, right? For the second one, I say, ooh, I want that to tie to the date. And so that's how I do all of that. In fact, if I wanted to, I could come in here and do something really fun and say, okay, actually, I want this to say where it's at as well. And so I can say date and this item. I say I can do that, and then it's immediately getting unhappy with me. This item dot campus. So you can see I've added both those in there, but I need to put a couple other, just a quick space in there. And so all I have to do and so now what I've done is put 2 pieces of data on the same line. I could do the same thing here and put in something like who's teaching the course. So I could come in and we could say by, and we'll just say this item. And this thing that I'm coming up with where it says dot title, or in my case, I'm going to say dot instructor, I think it is. Yeah, dot instructor. That's the actual field name from that Excel spreadsheet, just the name of the field in the title or in the table that we had. And so now when I click away, you can see all that showing up there. I made that little change. So now what I'm going to do is come over here and hit save. That's really important. It doesn't auto save. So you do have to save it. And then ultimately, since this isn't the first time that I've saved it, I actually need to republish it. That gets me a new version out there. So I can save and keep working on it over and over. In my case, though, I actually wanted to publish those changes. Now, the neat thing that I did with this, and this is where it really goes, is I don't want people to have to go look for where the heck is this thing? How are they supposed to find it or anything else? So what I did is this is PD for the science staff. So we have a professional development channel specifically for science. So I simply went up here to plus and chose PowerApps. And from there, the first time it'll make you click the install button, and then it will let me see all the PowerApps that I have access to, and I can just add those into here. Now, like any good cooking show, I'm going to skip this step because I've already done it. And you can see right here, I have the Science PD scheduler, and boom, including our changes where it says title and instructor, date and campus, and then that would allow me to free this up and put some other information in there. So perhaps that's where I would put the summary that I had inside of there. Now, just to show you guys one last piece here and we're done. We're going to call this MS Office Hours. We're going to put instructor Preston Piney. You could go so far as to have this actually be a lookup in the Active Directory, but for most of your teachers, they just need people to be able to type stuff in, right? This will be awesome. Just show up. There we go. And we'll say it's going to be here at the campus there. right? All that kind of fun stuff. I'll give it a quick date. Done. Time 7. Yep, 7 works good. Duration 60 minutes. There we go. Now I just click the checkbox. It's going to save that for me. And just to show you guys that all of that is live and fully functional, we'll come back over here to the actual Excel file, and you'll see here the second record just showed up inside of there, which also means because it's an Excel file, I can actually edit it right here. And that is auto saved. So now when I go back into Teams and see this, that will be there in just a little bit. We got to wait for it to refresh. Here we go. Come up here, refresh. Now I come in, it should show it. It's not just yet, but it will. It'll be there. It just takes a little bit because I manually edited it in a different area. By the same token, I can come back over here and run that same application again by hitting the play button. This time I'll refresh it. It'll go fetch my new record. And in my record, then I see all that data showing up here. So kind of cool. Hopefully that's helpful. It's something you guys can build really quick and simple, something you could teach others to be able to build. There are lots of examples of things that you guys could come up with to be able to do this. Simple applications. So here's what I'm trying to say with all of this is to say, don't go out and buy something every time you need to do some new fancy thing. What you need to think about is, are there times when you can, in fact, just create it yourself, right? So anyway, that may be something that you guys can do. And really appreciate that. So with that, I think I'm gonna stop the recording. Unless does anybody have any questions on the apps that I showed? Otherwise, I'll stop it. Okay, well, I'm gonna stop the recording for now, and I'll stick around and answer some questions, and maybe even show you guys a cool new thing or two. So check this out. Earlier, like when Mr. Perlman was, oops, I guess I didn't get the recording stopped. Hold on.
This is the part where